Hey guys, HazBo here, and in today's video we're going to take a look back on ArmA as a whole and what I feel about ArmA 4's eventual announcement. I mean, it's got to be coming sometime soon, right? The ArmA franchise has in the past pioneered in terms of scale, realism, functionality and modding. And whilst it doesn't do any one particular thing to perfection, it still does just about everything to a really decent level. Even things it wasn't really designed for instance RPGs and role-playing servers. Mods ranging from ancient Rome, World War II, all the way to Warhammer 40k. It has provided a platform for mods like Battle Royale, which of course went on to become PUBG, which spawned a whole genre of a game we all love or love to hate. The hardcore survival genre, yeah, you can actually thank ArmA for that as well, providing the platform for DayZ, the fantastic work of Dean Hall. However, it has now been a better part of a decade since a major release in the franchise, and whilst there is no true challenger just yet, it is only a matter of time. The rest of the world has had a good amount of time to see what makes ArmA tick, and are really closing the gap. Even smaller indie developers have the skill sets, and now the tools to start challenging the big boys. The advent of early access along with more powerful tools has really paved the way for more, kind of smaller studios to whip up some really great games. But I do hope this is a double-edged sword. I hope Bohemia Interactive have kept a really keen eye on the market and the competition that even the smaller developers can now offer. I coined the phrase revolution or evolution in the title. This phrase can be applied to core gameplay mechanics or even the basic game engine itself. In our particular case, we want to look at the game engine. So, for example, Operation Flashpoint was a revolution, it came out of nowhere, and whilst its expansion packs like Resistance was more of a evolution, building on the foundations. Studios like Creative Assembly and their Total War games often use the same cycle. There's a revolution, whether it be in the game engine or gameplay, and the expansions seek to evolve and build upon that said foundation. The Real Virtuality engine has powered the franchise for a long time now. From its first iteration in the Operation Flashpoint days, its second behind the successor Armed Assault, to its third and fourth upgrade which drove ArmA 2 and ArmA 3 respectively. Indeed, it has also provided the framework for Bohemia Interactive sister company, Bohemia Interactive Simulations, to produce VBS, or Virtual Battlespace, which is more of a simulation than a game, and it's widely used by military forces around the world as a training tool. Although the engine has served the franchise really well by upping the graphics, physics and scripting language with each iteration, it is now, in my opinion, showing its age. The engine also really struggles with urban landscapes. This came to a head in ArmA 3 and in DayZ standalone release. The FPS in these areas just leaves a lot to be desired. But Bohemia did have an ace up the sleeve. Enfusion. Enfusion is basically Real Virtuality's eventual replacement and base for future projects. Some elements of it now actually drive DayZ and produce much higher frames, but we can't judge Enfusion in its entirety based on DayZ alone. Whilst it does make use of the new engine's rendering and animation systems, we have a lot more to see. BI's wiki itself states Enfusion's flexibility and scalability exceeds that of Real Virtuality. And the better news is that on top of ArmA's already buzzing mod scene, the new engine has been built with modders in mind, and it also allows custom development plugins and more access to some of the engine's more hard-coded features and core mechanics. On the flip side, this may quite well mean that certain things won't be portable, which is a damn shame, but I think we as a community, we've gotten our money's worth of being able to port assets from as far back as ArmA 1, and I think we can all agree Real Virtuality has served us very, very well and provided something that other games just can't yet seem to capture. That being said, the time for change is upon us, and the question beckons, is BI actually working on ArmA 4? I think it would be naive for us to think that it's not already in development. The question really should be, what could we expect from another release in the franchise? You may or may not be aware that in recent weeks to months there's been leaked screenshots and Enfusion engine puzzle screenshots that have been put together by the community. Reforger also seems to be the project's title. Whether this relates to the title itself or whether it's an internal project name, much like how Bohemia codenames its terrains and DLCs, is yet to be seen. All the current information points towards a familiar European Cold War setting. I personally think it's a multiplayer testbed or some other foundational project test. Moreover, Bohemia Interactive knows it has a huge amount of expectation rested on its shoulders. They also know they have all but admitted that its aging RV engine can no longer take their projects to the place they want them to be. Enfusion might not be the sole answer. Not so long ago, Bohemia Interactive Simulations showcased some very impressive world tech which can render an entire planet. I think it was called VBS BLUE. ArmA has always pioneered in terms of scale, but if they can integrate this technology into Enfusion engine, we could yet see another leap for the franchise. Imagine the possibilities for mission and campaign makers not having to break up or end a mission because they have to load another terrain to continue the story. Talking of the story, yeah, still have a background story or main arc, but allow emergent gameplay. Tie the story in with dynamically generated and simulated objectives, units and waypoints. Think of the Alive mod, taking those mechanics and adding some seasoning and spice. You can still have the main story to play through, but the world is dynamic and it keeps the replayability high. Admittedly, it's a delicate operation trying to achieve the balance of story and a living, breathing world, but they have the tools to make this doable. With Enfusion's enhanced animation systems, we will hopefully see a change in character movements as well. I love ArmA, but sometimes it does feel a little clunky. I'm not sure if that's the right word, but it definitely doesn't feel as fluid as it should at the best of times. Don't get me wrong, I don't want Call of Duty movement, but something more akin to Squad, where you can feel your character's weight, but it doesn't necessarily feel constricted, and there's a more natural feel to things. The enhanced movement mod for ArmA 3 added jumping and climbing up, over and off obstacles. For a military sandbox, this should now really be included in a base game. Navigating and overcoming obstacles has been a strange omission from the franchise, considering it's probably in the first batch of physical things you'll do in the military. I'm not talking parkour levels from Mirror's Edge or Warzone, but enough to get you and your squad to an objective without having to take a 500-yard detour around a bloody fence. I mentioned navigation, which now moves me to how the AI should navigate and interact with the world. Bohemia Interactive have crafted some awesome terrains over the years, but the navigation or pathing system they use for the entities in the world is, I believe, correct me if I'm wrong, node or formation based. Long story short, the path generation used in the Real Virtuality engine was more intended for open terrains. As the years have passed, more details and more interior spaces have been added to the worlds, and unless a creator adds predefined pathing nodes to an object, the AI won't actually be able to use it. You can actually see this in action if you command a squad and order troops into houses. You'll notice kind of soft snapping to certain points within or around the structure. It's basic and gets the job done, but the AI can't really hide behind furniture and doesn't interact with things. And they navigate interior spaces like robots being controlled by an old school 4-directional D-pad. It's ridiculous. Thankfully, Enfusion has already made headway into this department. If I recall correctly, one of the early DayZ dev blocks showed that they'd be using a navigation mesh. It allows for far more natural pathing, especially in interior spaces. Combine this aspect with the obstacle climbing, and I really do hope we could see AI not only navigating properly, but maybe climbing over things or even upon things to gain an advantage. ArmA is great, however, in my opinion, it's only one revamp away from achieving absolute greatness. Talking to the community, most of the concerns were revolved around performance, AI, movement, inventory management, usability, multiplayer netcode, and the user interface. Specifically the bloody action menu wheel stuff. You're placing a charge instead of picking something up. The usual ArmA problems. I'd be really interested to hear your thoughts. What do you think ArmA 4 has to include or do better? Leave some comments below. Well, hopefully my little monologue has made some kind of sense and had some kind of structure. I am really new to this style of video, so if you've enjoyed the video, please stick a like on it. If you haven't, take the time to comment, albeit politely and constructively, and let me know. And consider subscribing to be notified of more content. Until next time, ArmAholics, bye!